In this lecture, let us discuss the spectral properties of line codes, that is modified DO binary code, split phase also called Manchester signaling, and HDBN. Okay. Now in the previous lecture we derived the power spectrum of DO binary signaling. In that we said the bandwidth is f0 by 2. That is, if you plot the spectrum, the first 0 crossings. Okay. So where do you see the first 0 crossing? You can either take the sinc function or the cos square function, cos function, and from this cos function I need to find out the first 0 crossing. That means we know that cos pi by 2 is equal to 0, right? Therefore the argument of this cos function has to be pi by 2. So omega t 0 by 2 is equal to pi by 2. Therefore you can see that omega is equal to pi by t0. So this is a point at which the first 0 crossing occurs. Therefore I can say the bandwidth is equal to pi by t0, or you can write omega is equal to 2 pi f, which is pi by t0, pi and pi will get cancelled. So f is equal to 1 over t0, 1 by 2 0, t0 is f0, so f0 by 2. This is a point at which the first 0 crossing occurs. So that is the width of the main lobe. Once again. Okay, so if you plot the spectrum of like this, and the first 0 crossing occurs at f by 2 if it is in frequency. Okay, so this is your Sy of omega. Okay, therefore in the last class we discussed up to this point, and then so the thing that we learned is that as I said, the bandwidth of the DO binary scheme is half that of bipolar, right? We said for bipolar the bandwidth is equal to f0, right? Now for DO binary signaling scheme, the bandwidth is equal to half that of bipolar, and the main lobe is the only important thing, right? Because we can always shape the side lobe, right? You can control the side lobe by choosing different pulse shapes. Okay, so you can change the shape of the second lobe or side lobe. Maybe you can reduce this height, make it small by appropriate shaping of the pulse. So the key point is the pulse shape can control the second lobe. Okay, so this is one property. So the first important point that we understand is bandwidth is half that of the bipolar. Now the other properties of the DO binary scheme are essentially the same as that of bipolar signal, okay, that we have discussed earlier in one of the lecture. So that is quite clear, because like the bipolar, we don't have a considered component of DC. When omega is equal to 0, we don't have any DC component. Okay, so we don't have a net DC level because of the fact that alternating pulses are equal. That is, on the whole, equal number of pulses are likely to be positive and negative. So we have more or less similar properties to that of bipolar, except for one fact. Okay, what is that fact? We don't have a spectral null at omega is equal to 0. You take this expression, if you substitute omega is equal to 0, you don't see that this Sy of 0 is not equal to 0. Okay, therefore this function does not have spectral null at omega equal to 0. What is the point of this one? Because when you have non-zero component at omega is equal to 0, then you are wasting the power. Okay, so when you design a code, you make sure that the spectral component doesn't have any power at a DC. That means omega is equal to 0. Therefore, the DO binary scheme has similar properties to that of bipolar, except for a missing spectral null at omega is equal to 0. In bipolar signaling scheme, we had a spectral null at omega is equal to 0, but here we don't have it. Okay, and the spectral null at omega is equal to 0 is a very useful property, if you remember, because you can save the power. Therefore, we can conclude that similar properties of that of bipolar, except for missing spectral at omega is equal to 0. Okay. So, like bipolar, we have 3 dB disadvantage with respect to what? We have a 3 dB disadvantage with respect to polar scheme. Okay, for the same performance, either the bipolar or DO binary scheme require 3 dB more power than the polar scheme. Bipolar or DO binary require 3 dB more power than polar scheme, and this bipolar and DO binary require same amount of power. Why? Because both of them are ternary codes. Okay. Therefore, the key point is 3 dB disadvantage with respect to what? With respect to polar, but there is no advantage over bipolar in terms of power usage. Okay, so like the bipolar, that is the AMI, alternate Mach inversion kind of scheme, we also have error detection capability, which is quite obvious. How can we say it has error detection capability? Because if two successive pulses come with the same polarity and odd number of zeros between them, we can deduce that there is an error, right? Suppose you have a pulse like this, then again pulse like this. Let's say I have a odd number of zeros, let's say 3 zeros, no signal, no signal, no signal. As per the DO binary scheme, I should have a pulse like this, because odd number of zeros reverse the polarity, but due to noise, instead of having this type of negative p of t, if I get positive pulse like this, then there is an error, because when you encounter odd number of zeros, then you should have the negative pulse, but instead of that you are getting positive pulse. That means what? There is some error. Okay, there is an error that has taken place somewhere, and similarly the other way around also. Okay, so all the properties that we have seen for bipolar are valid for DO binary, with the added advantage that the bandwidth is only half of it. Okay, so it's more or less similar to bipolar, except that the advantage is like the bandwidth is very important advantage. The bandwidth is only half of that of bipolar, and remaining properties are more or less same. Okay, and if you look at the disadvantage, that bipolar has a spectral null at omega is equal to 0, but that is missing in DO binary code. So, these are the main features of DO binary signaling scheme. Now, later Lender, okay, if you remember, Lender was a person who introduced the DO binary scheme. Okay, so he himself came up with a so called modified DO binary. Okay, modified DO binary scheme which eliminates the disadvantage that it has with respect to binary, with respect to bipolar. What is the disadvantage of DO binary? DO binary doesn't have spectral null, but this guy has spectral null at omega is equal to 0. See, spectral null at omega is equal to 0 means what? DC component, that's it. Okay. So, if you have DC component, that means you are wasting the power, that is what we said in the beginning of the class itself, because the DC component does not convey any information, and so there are many drawbacks that we discussed. So, therefore, the next one is modified DO binary, and this guy has spectral null at omega is equal to 0, and spectral null seemingly simple modification that is inherent in the DO binary scheme with respect to alternate mark inversion kind of schemes, and after its modification you do some simple modification. Okay, you can introduce the spectral null at omega is equal to 0 and made it a very useful coding scheme. So, the modified DO binary scheme has all the properties like your bipolar signal, and the important thing is it uses bandwidth is equal to f0 by 2, and also if you modify the DO binary, then you will be having the spectral null at omega is equal to 0. Therefore, in fact, soon afterwards, soon after the introduction of this modified DO binary by Lender, many companies came up with systems which could take to, let us say, basic units of the T1 carrier system. Do you remember this? T1 carrier system of your time division multiplexing, TDM. Okay, so T1 carrier system of your time division multiplexing standards, this which contains, if you remember, 24 voice channels, right? Your T1 carrier contains 24 voice channels. Now, if you use this modified DO binary scheme, then you can combine them into a single system with them. Instead of 24, you can send 48 voice channels. Okay, if you use bipolar, you can transmit only 24 voice channels, but if you use modified DO binary, then you can use 48 voice channels, right? Because bipolar needs f0, the bandwidth of f0, and this guy needs f0 by 2. Okay, so one could build repeaters which could transmit 48 PCM voice channels or PCM channels. Okay, now here we are talking about we are talking in American context, because Lender was an American and he introduced this scheme in the United States of America. Therefore, we could use 48 PCM channels over the same bandwidth as that was earlier being used for 24 channels. Therefore, build repeaters with 48 PCM channels over same bandwidth as that of 24 channels. Okay, so that is a major achievement of Lender, who gave this modified DO binary signaling scheme. That shows the significance of choice of proper line coding schemes. So okay, if you choose proper line coding schemes, you can do a wonderful thing. Okay, so here one has doubled the bandwidth efficiency, right? There is the doubling of bandwidth efficiency, which is very, very significant. Okay, so this is the advantage of your DO binary and modified DO binary, because DO binary also requires bandwidth of f0 by 2, and modified DO binary also requires the bandwidth of f0 by 2. But what is the difference between this and that? This guy don't have spectral null at omega is equal to 0, but this it has. That's it. Okay, so this DO binary concept is a slight modification of your DO binary. Okay, modified DO binary, slight modification of your DO binary. Okay, now I am not going to discuss the modified DO binary here. We will discuss it in a slightly different context at a later stage, not now. Okay, just I wanted to tell you the difference between between DO binary and modified DO binary. Okay, but we will discuss at length a little later about modified DO binary. Okay, now the next line coding scheme, I mean the scheme is a slightly different philosophy from the one that we have discussed so far, right? In all the line coding schemes from bipolar onwards that we discussed so far, we have tried to do the spectral shaping, right? Your Sy of omega is equal to P of omega by T0 mod square Sx of omega. The output spectrum can be controlled either by this guy or this guy. Okay, so spectral shaping essentially controlled by the manner in which how you code the successive ones and zeros by the actual pulse. Okay, we have not bothered, or we have not done so. We have not done so much with the pulse shape itself. Till now we concentrated on Sx of omega, but we did not consider this guy. So let us consider this P of omega, and can we do something? Either you can modify Sx of omega or P of omega to get the required or desired spectrum, output spectrum. Okay, therefore till now we consider Sx of omega. Now let us concentrate on P of omega, and that leads to one more kind of line coding scheme. Okay, that we will just briefly discuss here, which is known by the name of split phase, or sometimes called Manchester coding scheme or signaling scheme. Okay, I think you may be familiar with this coding scheme. So the point that I am making here is, we have noticed that we can split our Sy of omega into two parts, right? What is the first part? First part is P of omega mod square Sx of omega. This is my first part and this is my second part. Okay. Now the first part is contributed by pulse shape. If you take a rectangular pulse, then you will get P of omega is going to be sinc function. If P of t is a rectangle pulse like this, then P of omega is going to be a sinc function like this, right? So therefore the output spectrum is split into two parts. One is P of omega and the second one is Sx of omega, right? The second part which is contributed by the Sx of omega, that is impulse train, okay, impulse train with random amplitudes. What is that amplitude? How do we denote that amplitude? A suffix k. Therefore, this Sx of omega indicates power spectrum of impulse train. Impulse train. So, and P of omega indicates the power spectrum of pulse shape. So, therefore, one can do spectral shaping not only by just controlling Sx of omega, but also by controlling P of omega. In particular, suppose our primary requirement is to introduce a spectral null, right? Let us ask a specific question. Can we introduce a spectral null by controlling P of omega? That is the question. Or in the time domain P of t. So, we need to introduce a spectral null at omega is equal to 0. And we know the relation. The question is, how can we introduce the spectral null at omega is equal to 0? Okay, we need to do some kind of controlling at P of omega, such that my P of omega is equal to 0 at omega is equal to 0. And it is very easy to see that yes, we can do it, because your P of omega is the Fourier transform of your time domain pulse P of t. Okay. Therefore, the question one can ask is, can we introduce a spectral null by controlling P of omega? The answer is yes. So, how will you do this? By using Fourier transform pair. P of omega is equal to, we know the formula, right? P of t e to the j omega t and dt, and the limit is minus infinity to plus infinity. Now, what are we asking? We are asking at omega is equal to 0. Substitute omega is equal to 0 in this expression. Okay. So, P of 0 is equal to P of t, this is e to the 0 and dt. Okay, that is it. Now, as far as what is this? This is the DC value or spectral null at omega is equal to 0. Now, as far as the DC value is concerned, that is the value which is determined by the area of the pulse, area under the pulse. Okay. So, what is this? Area under the pulse. Now, what do we need? We need spectral null, that means it should be equal to 0. Okay. So, because if you put omega is equal to 0 in this expression, this factor disappears. So, P of 0 is essentially the area under the pulse. So, if we can choose the pulse shape such that the net area under the pulse is 0, we will get a spectral null. So, we need a spectral null at omega is equal to 0. At omega is equal to 0, I will denote by P of 0, capital P in the transform domain, and this must be equal to 0, null. Therefore, you design a pulse shape such that the area of the pulse shape over one period is 0, and you can extend the period to go to extend this concept to many periods. Therefore, so Manchester coding or split phase coding is one example of precisely this kind of coding. So here, instead of sending the pulse like this, or instead of this is my half width pulse, this is my full width pulse, right? See, this is the half width pulse and this one is full width pulse. So instead of sending like this, don't send like this. You transmit half of the pulse, half of the pulse positive and remaining half of the pulse negative like this, right? Like this you transmit. Now you take the total area, this is a negative area and this is a positive area, and if you find the total area is going to be 0. Okay, and this is my P of t. Let me draw it nicely. Okay, you transmit the pulse like this. Okay, this is, let's say, plus 1 volt. Minus 1 volt. This is my P of t. You design a pulse like this, then the DC null is very explicit. Okay, and this is your time axis, and half the interval of the pulse width, the pulse is having positive amplitude, let us say plus 1 volt, and the other half is having negative voltage, okay, negative amplitude, which is minus 1. Okay, so this point is 0 and this point is T0. If you want, you can construct a symmetrical pulse also like this. Like this you can construct, and this is minus T0 by 2 and this is plus T0 by 2. This point P of t, like this also you can construct. This is plus 1 volt and minus 1 volt. So this is what you do in Manchester coding. Okay, so this is how you choose a pulse shape in Manchester coding. So overall interval, your T naught is split into both the positive portion and a negative portion with equal areas, so that the net area under the pulse is 0. Okay, and the mapping that you may do, that's what the Manchester coding does, is 1 represented by P of t, and in the previous case 0 was represented by transmitting no pulse, but here 0 is represented by minus P of t. So how do you draw the minus P of t? The minus P of t will be like this. Okay, minus T0 by 2, this is T0 by 2, minus 1 volt, plus 1 volt. This is minus P of t. For transmitting bit 1, you use P of t. For transmitting bit 0, you use minus P of t, or the other way around. It's your choice. Okay, either you can choose this combination, or you can assume for 0 P of t and 1 you can use minus P of t, either way. Okay, and this Manchester coding is known by various names. It is called split phase, you can call Manchester coding, or also twinned binary. For various names for with historical reasons. Okay, so we will like to have this way. That's what the Manchester coding does anyway. So one can also define a new line coding scheme. Okay, so but we will have to study what the properties of these are with respect to Manchester coding, and see what and see that whether it is worthwhile adapting or not. Okay, it's not necessary to use only a particular pulse shape or particular line coding. You can choose whichever you like it, but we need to study in detail about its spectral properties in terms of bandwidth efficiency, spectral null, everything. Okay, so that's what you do in the Manchester coding. So 1 will be represented P of t and 0 will be represented by minus P of t. Okay, now as far as power spectrum is concerned, this is very simple. Sy of omega is equal to mod square of P of omega divided by T naught times Sx of omega. Okay, now Sx of omega already we have calculated this. Okay, if you just look at the final pulse sequence that you will get, what kind of sequence will it be? Will it be ternary or polar? It is a polar, right? Okay, we have already discussed the power spectrum of polar signal. It has only 2 values, okay, so it does not have the third value, 3 value does not have, either plus and minus 2 values, that is all. Therefore, it is a kind of polar signaling, and if you remember, for polar signals power spectrum is simply equal to 1. Sx of omega is equal to 1, this already we did in the one of the previous lecture. Okay, this Sx of omega is equal to 1 for equally likely ones and zeros. Therefore, your Sy of omega will turn out to be P of omega mod square divided by T naught. So, for equally likely ones and zeros, the second factor completely disappears. Okay, we have already done this in one of the previous class. So, recollect that for polar signal the power spectrum is given by this expression. Okay, now let us find out the P of omega. Okay, but this is different from your polar scheme because the P of omega is different here. Okay, for polar signal, you will get, let us say, P1 of omega, and here for Manchester signaling or split phase signaling you will get, let us say, P2 of omega. This P1 of omega is not equal to P2 of omega. Okay, so it is almost similar to polar scheme, but there are similarities. That is why we are saying that power spectrum is given by basically this expression. And there is an important difference between the power spectrum of your Manchester coding and the polar coding. What is the different? This P of omega is different. Okay, now let us try to find out P of omega. How do you find out P of omega? P of omega is the Fourier transform of your P of t. Okay, and your P of t actually composed of 2 pulses. One is positive pulse and another one is negative pulse. Okay, 2 rectangular pulses of opposite signs or opposite polarity. We need to find the Fourier transform of this. Opposite. Now, recall from your elementary signals and systems knowledge, if you have a pulse like this, minus T naught by 2 to plus T naught by 2, let us say x of t, then this, how do you represent this x? Let us say this amplitude is 1, then x of t is denoted mathematically as P of t by width of the pulse. Recall this definition. Now, therefore, this is x of width of the pulse. What is the width of the pulse? T naught. Okay. Similarly, if I have a pulse like this, minus T naught by 4 to plus T naught by 4, then how do you represent this guy? Pi of T by T naught by 2, isn't it? Because here width is T naught by 2, that is coming in the denominator. Now, if you shift the pulse or advance the pulse to the left hand side like this, how do you write this guy? This guy is pi of, shifted to the left hand side. How much you are shifting? by t naught 4 to the left hand side. Therefore, pi of t plus t0 by 4 divided by width of the pulse t0 by 2. This is minus t naught by 2, this is 0 and this is my time axis. Similarly, if you shift the pulse to the right hand side by half, by t0 by 4 seconds, then how do you write this? Pi of t minus t0 by 4 whole divided by width of the pulse t0 by 2. Now, if you take inverse of this reverse pulse minus 1 volt, this is t0 by 2, then this is pi of t minus t0 by 4. Here you put minus, I am sorry, I forgot to put here. You put minus symbol here. I am sorry, again I am making mistake. Pi and you put a minus symbol. Minus symbol. And what is the width of the pulse? t0 by 2. Therefore, your pulse like this, let us say this is minus t0 by 2 and plus t0, or I can draw a little bit bigger so that you will get very nice picture. I'm sorry. Pulse like this, then this is minus t0 by 2 and this plus t0 by 2, and this guy how do you write? Pi of t plus t0 by 4 and width of the pulse is t0 by 2, and this guy is minus pi of t minus t0 by 2 divided by t0 by 2, sorry, t0 by 4. Okay, this is my P of t, my pulse. Now you take the Fourier transform. Okay, the denominator indicates the width of the rectangular pulse. So once I have this P of t, we can compute P of omega without any problems. Now what will be P of omega? It will be the sinc square functions corresponding to a pulse width of t0 by 2, which we already know, except that it will have a multiplication factor of e to the minus j omega t0 by 4. Okay, and if you take Fourier transform, this guy has e to the minus j omega t0 by 4, plus j omega t0 by 4, and if you take this will be e to the minus j omega t0 by 4. Okay, therefore, P of omega is equal to the sinc pulse t0 by 2 sinc of omega t0 by 4 pi, because it is advanced pulse, right? If it is pi of t, you can take Fourier transform and you will get a sinc function. But if you take delayed or time delay t minus t naught, then what will you get? You will, by time shifting property of your Fourier transform, sinc function and multiplied by e to the minus j omega t0. The same thing we are applying here. Here there is a time advancement. Because of that factor, e to the j omega t0 by 4 minus t0 by 2 sinc function of omega t0 by 4 pi and e to the, due to this guy, it is going to be e to the minus j omega t0 by 4. That is it. This is my P of omega. And now this equation can be factored out. So you can take a t0 sinc of omega t0 by 4 pi commonly and e to the j omega t0 by 4 minus e to the j omega t0 by 4, and here 2 is there, and you multiply and divide by j, and this is going to be sine function. So, j times t0 sinc of omega t0 by 4 pi sine of omega t0 by 4. This is my p of omega. Now, what is your sy of omega? Sy of omega is equal to p omega mod square divided by t naught. Now, you take mod square and divide by t naught, then it is going to be sinc square of omega t0 by 4 pi sine squared of omega t0 by 4. That is it. Now, this shows clearly that there is a spectral null at where? Spectral null at omega is equal to 0, because sine 0 is 0. We are multiplying the sine square function with the sinc square function. Now, what is the bandwidth of this spectrum? What is the bandwidth of this type of signal? Okay, I mean, where is the first 0 crossing? The first 0 crossing occurs not at f0, it is 2f0. So, here the bandwidth is 2f0. It is easy to show you. Okay. So, this you take this omega t0 by 4 must be equal to pi. Therefore, 2 pi f t0 by 4 is equal to pi, pi will get cancelled, 2. So, f is equal to 2 by t naught, 1 by t naught is f naught, therefore 2 f naught. Therefore, the first 0 crossing occurs at f is equal to 2 f naught. So, this is the bandwidth. Therefore, the bandwidth is 2 times of that of bipolar, okay, and it is 4 times of that of your duobinary. And now, this bandwidth is 2 times of f naught, it is understandable. Can we say why? Because you always have to bound to have 0 crossings at every, not t0 seconds, t0 by 2 seconds. So, your pulse is changing for every t0 by 2 seconds. Therefore, effectively as if your average rate of bit transitions has gone up from t0 every t0 seconds to every t0 by 2 seconds. So, in t0 seconds your bandwidth is f naught, in t0 by 2 seconds your bandwidth is 2 f naught. Therefore, the bandwidth is doubled. So, it makes sense to expect the bandwidth should be doubled with respect to the polar scheme. Okay. Now, we are back to the bandwidth that we used in the unipolar scheme with respect to rectangular pulse shape of with a half width. Okay. So, your bandwidth is up to 4 pi by t naught, that is 2 f naught. Okay, and this was your polar scheme. Okay, mind you, it might give you the expression that the spectrum is 0 beyond this point. Okay, please remember it is not. The spectrum is there, but we are going to consider up to this region only, in this region only. Okay, we are mainly concentrating our attention on this portion from 0 to the first 0 crossing. That is the main lobe portion of the spectrum. For bipolar, you will get the spectrum like this. Okay. So, we will get our first 0 crossings at f naught instead of 2 f naught. Okay. But split phase or Manchester coding, it is going to be like this, Manchester coding scheme. Okay. So, if you look at the polar scheme, no, the bipolar null was obtained by coding. Okay. So, this bipolar null was obtained by coding, but in the Manchester the null is obtained by the pulse shaping, that is the essential difference. Okay. See, this is a null and the null is obtained by the pulse shaping in Manchester encoding, and for bipolar the spectral null is obtained by coding, line coding. Now one can ask a question, is there any possible advantage of split phase over bipolar? Is there any other advantage? Okay, we got spectral null at omega is equal to 0. Is there any other advantage? There is one important advantage. Okay, we already have seen that its bandwidth is totally not very nice because it is 2 times f naught. This is bad, disadvantage of Manchester. Okay, not very interesting. It is twice. And yes, it has 3 dB advantages. Yes, that is there. And it has the same properties in that as far as polar is concerned. But there is one more advantage it has. What is that advantage? And that is, if you look at, it will be absolutely transparent to, it is a very important property, long string of ones or zeros. Whenever you have long string of ones and zeros, then we will be having the problem of synchronization. Therefore, this is absolutely transparent to long string of ones and zeros, because no matter whether you are having 0 transmission or 1 transmission, you will always have a change in. There will always be a transition from like this, always a transition, regular transitions, because of the particular shape that we have adopted in our Manchester encoding. Because of the shape of the pulse, there is guaranteed to be a transition. So, any data scheme which is Manchester coded, that is any data sequence which is Manchester coded, will be transparent to long string of ones and zeros. So, from the point of view of timing extraction and synchronization, very important point this is. Timing extraction and synchronization, it is a good shape to use if the bandwidth is not a constraint. Okay, if one comes and says, okay, no, I don't have any problem with the bandwidth, then you can go ahead with this Manchester encoding. Okay, if bandwidth is not a consideration in some applications, maybe so, one can consider Manchester coding seriously because of this convenience that it gives you. Okay, so except for this fact, generally its other properties are not very desirable properties, particularly the bandwidth one, and therefore one has to be careful before using it. Okay, if bandwidth is not a constant, then you can go ahead with the Manchester encoding. Okay, so the Manchester coding has no problem with the long string of ones and zeros. Okay, we don't lose our timing synchronization because we have discussed that earlier, right? We get a long string of ones and zeros, and then there is distinct possibility that we may lose our synchronization for some time. Eventually, we will end up with a problem in decoding. Okay, therefore, we will have to acquire synchronization again. Okay, we will have to make sure that our loop gets back into synchronization fast as soon as this phase disappears. If on the other hand, if you don't have this problem, then we say that no, we are transparent to whether the data sequence of 1 1 1 1 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 1 this type or 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 that type. It does not really matter to us, okay, when you use transparent coding. Okay, so the synchronization is very important. Okay, although I did try to mention something about it, is that we have not yet discussed any synchronization scheme, but the essential fact in any synchronization scheme that is very important in digital communication is that it has to derive its timing information, that is it has to derive its clock information from the received data. Okay, so clock information or timing information has to be derived from received data. In case if the received data contains a long string of zeros, that means you don't transmit any voltage like this, 0 voltage, 0 voltage like this, then you will not be able to find out the timing information. So there we fail. But instead of this 0 volt for long duration, if you keep on send the pulse like this, if you keep on send the regularly spaced pulses, then it's very easy to recover the timing information. Okay, so the clock information roughly you can imagine will be contained in the zero crossing lines. This is T and these are the points, zero crossing lines. The clock information is roughly present in the zero crossing lines. Okay, or bit transitions. The more the number of bit transitions you have here, more the number of bit transitions or zero crossings, okay, you have the more regular bit transition. See, it is crossing regularly in this time axis. And better it is for timing recovery circuit. When you have the waveform like this, it is very good for your timing circuits. Timing recovery circuits. If on the other hand for a period of time, okay, this bit transitions disappear, no transitions, 0 volt, 0 volt, 0 volt, 0 volt, for whatsoever reason, because of the kind of data that is being transmitted, we will have a problem in extracting timing. So here we will have a problem in time extraction. So that's what we mean by synchronization. So that's why long strings of ones and zeros are not good for timing extraction point of view. So unless we can make our coding transparent to this long string of zeros or long string of ones, we continue to get zero cross. Now we will not be able to recover the clock. Okay, so even if we have a long string of ones and zeros, we continue to get zero crossings or bit transitions. Okay, that with the help of your Manchester coding. And also if you lose the clock information, then it is very difficult to recover the clock. If you don't recover the clock, what is the consequence? Okay, it is very difficult to recover the clock from the received signal, which is important for what? For carrying out the demodulation. So the entire communication system fails. Okay, so demodulation is very important. Synchronization is very important from the point of view of demodulating the signal, because we don't know where the 0 occurs and where 1 occurs and at what point it starts and at what point it ends. And finally, let us come to HDBN code. And I am not going to take much time on this, because I am not going to take the spectral calculation of HDB coding in detail. The reason is it is very involved. Okay, that's why I am not going to do it here, and therefore we can cover this topic quickly and finish off with this. Okay, basically what turns out is that if you try to do the spectral analysis in the manner that we have done for bipolar and Manchester and polar coding, spectral analysis, okay, then we will be in trouble. Okay, so This HDB encoding requires us to calculate the autocorrelation coefficients or n for very large values of n. We need to calculate up to n is equal to 63. Okay. After n is equal to 63, it will become 0. Up to n is equal to 63, it is non-zero. Okay. So, this HDB encode requires calculation of the autocorrelation function or n's for very large values of n. Okay. So, it turns out that for doing this, for HDB encoding requires you to calculate this RNs for very large values. As an example, if you have to consider HDB3, here n is equal to 3. Okay, you need to go up to n is equal to 63 for autocorrelation function. Okay, we need to calculate R0, R1, R2 up to R63. Okay, we need the 63 coefficients to calculate the spectrum. Okay, because it doesn't become 0 before that. Okay, before R is R63, it doesn't become 0. Even it doesn't become small enough before that. Okay, if it doesn't become 0, it will at least become small enough to ignore, but that also not possible. So, it turns out that you require a very large number of terms in the spectrum calculation to be able to compute it reasonably accurately. But obviously, such computations have been done and results do exist. Okay, so you can look at the paper or textbook and find out that expression. So, I will just give you a feel for the HDB spectrum with respect to bipolar spectrum. Okay, so bipolar, if you remember, has the first okay, so let me stop at this point. So that's a point I want to stress here. So this guy requires 63 autocorrelation coefficients. Okay, so I think let me stop at this point. Maybe in the next lecture, let me discuss compare the spectrum of HDB encode and other existing codes like Manchester and bipolar codes. Let me stop here. Thank you very much.